Hello, welcome back to SoCal Motorcycle Services. I'm Buck, and this is going to be part 2 of the CT Trail 70 to 88 conversion, 88 cc's. It's right here. Today we're going to do basically prep, tear down, take off things like the exhaust and the engine guard and carburetor and things to make it easier to access the engine for the upgrade. So hang in there and we'll get to work in a second. Thanks. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to remove the engine guard, the exhaust, and intake manifold, carburetor, and air filter assembly. This will give us a lot more room to work on the actual head. It's not quite necessary to take off the engine guard, but it'll make things a lot easier and you'll be able to see things a lot better. So first we'll start with taking off the engine guard. One thing I like about working on old Hondas is basically you only need a few different size tools. A 10 millimeter, a 12 millimeter are what you're going to use a lot. And then there are going to be a few others, but those are the main ones. So we'll remove the engine guard by taking out, there's going to be 4 10 millimeters up here, 2 on each side. And I kind of have a cool little setup where I was able to raise the bike on these car stands that I have. It'll give me access to under the motor. And if you can see these car stands, I'll show them to you in a little bit. They're really cool. I have 4 of them. You jack up the car, put them on the stands, 1 on each wheel. Then you put a jack under the stand and you can raise the whole car up about 2 feet. I bought them originally because I had a 90 Corvette and I kept burning out the clutch, and it was really easy to get to the clutch components when it's raised up and I didn't have a lift. And a lot of these bolts haven't been out in a long time. It is a 1970 bike, but they're pretty good. There's not a lot of corrosion on it or rust. Okay, that loosens up. Then you need 12 millimeter socket. I'll get right under here. And there are 2 12 millimeter bolts holding the engine guard on the bottom. There's one. And they'll have the bolt, a lock washer, and a washer. And when you support it, you can just move it out of the way. This is a engine guard, also a skid plate when you're going off-road, so you don't knock anything out of the way. Then we'll take off the exhaust, which is 2 more 10mm bolts. Whoops, sorry about that. Here and here at the head, and then you're going to have 12mm bolt back here. Hopefully you can still see that. So these on the head, it's going to be some nuts on some studs. The studs will stay in the head. The new kit comes with studs. And these are just it's just 2 nuts. You take off the nuts on the collar that holds it on. There's supposed to be a bolt here, but it's missing. We'll replace that when we reinstall it. And then right here is a 12th. It has the same situation where it's washer, lock nut, and a nut. And exhaust can be a little tricky to remove because they go through so many heat cycles. The metal warps. You're going to have these hold in the exhaust with the collar. So make sure you save those. And with a little bit of wiggling and moving, you should be able to get it off. But it has been on here a long time. The problem is the flange, the hole in the flange to mount it is basically almost the same size as the bolt that's holding it on. That's actually a stud. With a little bit of wiggling, you'll be able to take the exhaust off. See how much room it gives us to work on the head. Since we're going to be taking off the whole top end, it's going to make it easier. Then I fancy that. Another 2 more 10mm bolts. Hold on. The intake manifold. This one. There's 2. Well, that'll free up the carb. We're going to take off the slide of the carb because we'll take off the slide is on the throttle cable. And to take it out, you'll see the slot right here. You pull the spring out of the way. Which is always a tad bit difficult. And once you get the spring out of the way, you could push the cable out of the little holder. Just like that. Then we can take off the cable and I'll put the slide back on the carb just so we don't lose it. Now let's see what's, we'll take off the air filter, air cleaner. There's a bolt nut over here that holds the air filter assembly, air cleaner assembly. It's very obvious, you'll see it. We got one there, and then we got, that's going to be a 12 millimeter. Sometimes they're 13s. Then there's going to be a 10 millimeter bolt right up here. Painfully obvious, you'll see it. And once we get this bolt out, everything should be loose. There's going to, you want it to separate the carb. It's just a Phillips head on the intake. Boot. Oh, it looks like it just pulled out, which is fine. It's meant to be just pulled out. And there's a little clip that holds the rear brake pedal. So there's the intake and the carb. Now, one little irritating thing about the trail bikes is the petcock, which turns the fuel on, off, into reserve, is on the carb body itself. So there's no way to turn off the fuel to the fuel lines. So what I usually do is pinch these, but they're kind of hard, these fuel lines. Take off the fuel lines and then the carb will be removed. And then, just so I don't lose it, I'll put in the carb slide. And there'll be a slot, so it'll only go in one way. put in the spring. I want to make sure I put that in the right way. The bike's going to come, the kit comes with a new carburetor, but I would save the old one just in case. Or you can sell it on, you could sell it on eBay or OfferUp. I like to keep the original parts in case I ever want to sell a bike. The new owner might want the original parts. That's why we'll save the engine kit too, the original engine parts. That just screws on finger tight. This is a drain, overflow drain for the carb. Your intake manifold will have a gasket in here. Make sure when you put it on the new one, you have an intake gasket there. But that's all you need to do is prep it. In the next video, we'll start tearing out, taking off the head. This is the cylinder head, has the valves, overhead valves. This is the cylinder. So we're going to be removing the cylinder head, which also has the cam, the rocker arms, the valves, and then we'll take off the cylinder, which is the black part right here. The new cylinder is silver because it is aluminum. This one is cast iron, which is going to be significantly heavier. So I like that they went with an aluminum cylinder with a liner. Alright guys, that's it's all prepped now, ready to go. And we'll be replacing this. This is the throttle cable. If you want to have a little bit better view, that is your cylinder head, the silver one, and then the black part is your cylinder. See you in part 3. Thank you.